you talking to our listeners, especially the ones who are thinking about taking that step into their next chapter. I want you to give them a piece of advice, something that gives them the hope to take that leap.
First of all, I want to say congratulations on wanting to take that leap, because you've probably learned a lot about yourself in this last chapter. I want to take a moment to consider what you learned. What were the things you liked about this experience? What were the things you didn't like about this experience? It doesn't have to take a long time. It probably just came to your head right now. It was very clear. Whatever that was, there are pros and there are cons. I think there's probably something in you that says, I want to do that thing, but I can't because. And if you just write it down, then you can at least question it. Okay, so what do you want to do? You want to be an actress, okay? Lots of people want to be an actor in their 40s and 50s. Why not? There's a reason why you're not doing it. And maybe we can just at least acknowledge it. And it doesn't have to be true. Like that part of you, it doesn't have to be true that you can't do it right now. Like your age, what your finances, you can do it.
Hi, Daniella.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming and joining us. You just landed from Poland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Before we dive into all of that, I would love for you to just introduce yourself, let our audience know who you are, and everything else you want to say.
Sure. Well, first I have to say thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I ran into Kim Struther on the way in and collapsed in joy. You guys have such great taste. You have such great taste in women.
We have a good lineup today.
Yeah. And your Hulk bag really like saves the day every
thank you.
day, especially when I'm the host of my own podcast.
Yeah.
It's called Mom Curious. And that bag, guys, I schlep it into the studio. I carry all of my I was about to call them costumes because I have an acting background, but I carry all of my outfits in there, like all of my snacks.
It's great for costumes too.
Guys, it's the best. It's the actual best.
Oh.
And like as an actor and a mom, I'm like, anyway, you nailed it. So I'm a huge fan of yours. I have been for a long time.
Oh, so glad.
But my name is Daniella Rabbani.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm an actor and a filmmaker. I have my own podcast. It's called Mom Curious.
What do you talk about on the podcast?
I talk about motherhood. I actually talk about womanhood. There are some women who come on who are not mothers, but, you know, I think that there is a big conversation to be had around not choosing to be a mother or trying or, you know, there are people who come on who are in the midst of miscarriage after miscarriage and they ought to have a platform in the motherhood space. I think of myself as a bridge builder in that way. I think there are a lot of people in, you know, who would like to be a mom or like to at least have a seat at the table and feel comfortable with mothers. And so I want to give them voice. I have a friend who's 30 and she like tied her tubes. Oh, wow. And she, you know, I wanted to like give her the mic and let people know like you have choices, babe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there are lots of different moms who have come on in the past 3 years, moms and women.
Amazing.
There was one
3
man.
years.
3 years, yeah. There was one man and he was a foster, he is a foster dad and he's fantastic. But getting foster moms to, first of all, have the time to open up.
Of course.
And then to legally open up has been an issue. So he was the only man to ever come on, except for one drag queen. So we had a good time with them.
How fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best gift of doing a podcast, right? Is the gift of having these conversations and enriching your life with incredible people.
Yeah, I feel really lucky. We're produced by Hoff Studios, and they've become really good friends. And the producer herself is not a mom, and she has no interest in being a mom. And it's the best because she can offer so much insight into what's actually relevant and interesting. You know, like and we're like really allied in that way.
Amazing.
You know? Beyond that, I sing in Yiddish, which is why I went to Poland and...
Can you give me a verse? Give me just a little
A little something.
Teaser, yeah. You can't
in
just
Yiddish.
introduce yourself like that and not have a teaser.
Okay. Bei mir bist die schön, bei mir hast die Chain. It means, to me you are beautiful, to me you have charm. Bei mir bist die eine auf der Welt. Oh, bei mir bist die Git. Bei mir hast die It. By me, you have it. Bei mir bist die Teier fin Geld. For me, you are more precious than gold. Yeah.
How amazing. Do you actually speak Yiddish?
So I was raised speaking Hebrew.
Okay.
I am a born and raised New Yorker,
Yeah.
but my parents are Israeli, and so I had that influence at home.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated from acting school, the Stella Adler Studio of Acting, Stella's grandson is he's the artistic director, and he directed me in A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever seen A Midsummer Night's Dream, but, you know, I played Hermia, and it's this, like, ingenue character. Both men are in love with her, and that was probably the one and only time I really played an ingenue. I mean, a couple of other times, but I'm really like a consummate character actress, and I did it in a really funny way. And at some point, the director like takes me to the side, and he's like, "You act like my family."
Oh my God.
And he was referring to Stella and to Stella's father, Jacob P. Adler, who were giants of the Yiddish stage.
Wow.
They brought Yiddish theater from Russia to the Lower East Side, which later became off-Broadway, Broadway. And then those craftsmen and people who worked right here in the garment district. I don't know if you noticed that there was this beautiful statue of a Jewish man hunched over like a sewing machine right here in the garment district. Those ancestors of ours who were barred from all other lines of work created costumes and theater sets and pieces, and they regarded, you know, storytelling to be a holy thing. And so they created Hollywood from there. So when Tom, Stella's grandson, said this to me, he said, "Would you carry on the legacy of the Yiddish theater?" I mean, if you tell an actor you want a job, the answer is yes, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So they gave me a scholarship to study Yiddish.
Amazing.
Wow. That's incredible.
And it felt like my soul had remembered these words.
It was there.
Partially because my grandparents spoke German, and they spoke a little bit of Yiddish, and Yiddish is a combination of what they would call Lashon Kodesh, which is Lashon HaKodesh, the Hebrew holy language, and it's Germanic. Right?
Yeah.
Bist die Teier von Geld. You're like, wait a second, I kind of understand what that is. It's Germanic, like English is Germanic, and so like the grammar came to me. But it wasn't until I started singing in Yiddish, and I don't sing in any other language really, that I felt like a real soul calling.
How amazing. So
Like, I don't even like singing, if I'm being honest. I'm doing this documentary about klezmer music, and I had this testimonial after my big performance in Poland, which I'd love to tell you about. But I told the director, I was like, I don't even like singing. Like, it's so hard. It's just me up there. I don't read music. I have this raspy voice, you know.
It's pretty amazing. We've been talking for 5 minutes, and you're a podcaster, a singer, an actor, a mom
of two. I love those guys. Love them. Yeah.
How old are your kids?
They're 7 and 5. He's actually almost 8. And I'm like, it got so big.
How do you do
What about
it?
you guys?
Like, seriously, how are you doing it all?
You know, you were kind enough to give me a heads up that you wanted to ask me that. And I've been trying really hard to figure out the answer. Because, like, I guess the polished way of telling you how do I do it is, like, I would say I have a lot of support. My husband is really, he's an entertainment lawyer. So he actually really loves artists.
Yeah.
So, like, when so when I say I'm going to Poland for 5 days and I'm leaving the kids to you and my mom and the babysitter, so support, maybe I shouldn't go. He says, you have to. You have to go.
Amazing.
And I'm like, what about the contract? And, you know, is it enough pay? And he's like, whatever it is, you have to go. In fact, this tour was supposed to be, you know, done in Łódź, Poland, and then in Paris, France. And they cut funding for Paris because of security concerns.
Wow.
And in Łódź, in Poland, there are no security issues for any Jewish gatherings. Partially because there are so many Jewish museums, monuments, huge places that are just Jewish everywhere.
I remember I went to Łódź once, and the most popular restaurant is a Jewish restaurant. Did you go to that?
No, what's it
It's
called?
actually, I don't remember. It was ages ago.
There is a place.
Like the Jewish culture. You just feel it.
I know. You feel the culture, and you also feel the loss of the culture. And it was the first time that I came to Poland.
Why don't you really quickly tell us why you were in Poland?
Sure. Yes. So it was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and they do a commemoration in Łódź. There was something called the Łódź Ghetto. That's how you say it in Yiddish. Łódź is how you say Łódź in Yiddish. 6 million Jews lived in Poland. Hardly any of them survived the war, the Holocaust. And they lived there for 1,000 years, and the cultures were very intertwined. One of the coffee places that I visited while I was there was called Shikr, which means drunk. Shikor is the word in Hebrew. That was someone's last name, and they used to own the building, and they memorialize him. These Polish people memorialize this Jewish man, Ezra Shikr, by calling their coffee shop Shikr. And so every year they have this Holocaust Remembrance Day event. They, in fact, have many days leading up to it. And it's not just for the Jewish community, but it's for allies of the Jewish community, of which there is a significant amount in Łódź. This was my third time in Poland. The first time I went straight to visit the camps when I was a teenager. And then hopped a plane. They took us to Prague. At the time, it was the Intifada. There was violence in Israel, and so they cut that leg of the tour then too. The second time I came to visit Poland, I went straight to Warsaw. I performed at the State Jewish Theater.
Wow.
The State Jewish Theater.
In Warsaw.
Which still stands.
Wow.
There's also a State Jewish Theater in Romania, which I've performed at, which still stands. Those performers are not Jewish. They tell Jewish stories. They miss their Jews because for 1,000 years we had this intertwined connection. I mean,
very
if you can,
entrenched.
if you can imagine what would happen if most of the Jews of New York disappeared. You know, in 80 years, they would still be, eating challah French toast. You know, they would still be definitely having bagels. They would still tell Jewish jokes, you know. And so that's the experience there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think about it like that.
Yeah, really, like that. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, because it's so entrenched in the New York City culture.
And it is in Poland too. So when I asked, like, how many Jews are left in Łódź, they'd say 100, but people in the Jewish community are many more. For me, going there alone, this was the first time I had ever gone there alone. I went with my school the first time, with my mentor the second time, and then alone to meet this Polish band. I was there with the musical director, who happened to be a Jewish man who has a lot of ties to Poland professionally. But the producer was not Jewish. She has some Jewish sort of heritage, but they don't talk about it much in her family. It was a really beautiful thing to realize, like, Polish people stood and gave me a standing ovation for 10 minutes.
Wow.
How moving.
A Jewish woman on Holocaust Remembrance Day, the granddaughter of survivors, you know? It gives me a lot of hope, because I think we're in this, like, really seemingly hopeless experience in the Middle East. And it really, like, I have a lot of words for a lot of things.
You were put on a stage.
I know. And I look so Jewish, and I sound so Jewish, and I sang in Yiddish, and I didn't shy away from the pain of that experience. And or the joy of having survived.
Yeah.
And there they were right there with me, a shared experience, like a shared history that they're not afraid
to confront
because they confront it all the time. See, here's the thing. Most Jews, you live in Lisbon, but most Jews live in New York.
Yeah.
Most Jews live in Israel. And we don't have to look at Auschwitz.
Yeah.
We don't have to live in Krakow where you can see like dug out mezuzahs, like dug out, you know, if mezuzah is like this mini Torah scroll right before a Jewish home. Like we don't have to see it all the time. We don't live in a graveyard like they do.
Yeah.
Like the Nazis really desecrated Poland in a very serious way, and so did the Soviets. And for a long time, I didn't have enough respect for that experience. Like me, as a Jewish person, I regard Israel as a holy place. I believe that places are holy, that people are holy, that time itself is a holy thing. If I think that for myself, then I look at a Pole and I think, oh my gosh, what must they think of Poland?
Yeah.
To like be remembered for its death camps of which they did not erect. You know, I had so much resentment coming in because truly there really are very few Jews left, and there were millions and millions for so long. And I respect that experience too. But, you know, we live our lives free of that experience, and they don't.
Yeah. They can detach themselves. They're stained in many ways.
How, as a mom, are you thinking about instilling those lessons in your children?
So I think about sending my kids to Jewish school because I think part of why people are drawn to talking to me about Judaism is because I know a lot.
Did you go to Jewish school?
I went to Jewish school. My parents are Israeli. I was Orthodox growing up. They're still Orthodox.
Oh, wow.
I know a lot about being Sephardic. I know a lot about being Ashkenazi. You know, I was born and raised in New York. There are a lot of reasons why having an in-depth conversation with me about Judaism really makes sense to people. It's exciting. And not everyone knows about the experience of being Jewish. And I think, oh, maybe my kids should know that. What they're experiencing now is the beauty of a diverse New York life. And I think, you know, 6 years ago when I was thinking about where I want to send my kids, it was a whole other world. The world had evolved to a point where I thought, you know, our, you know, sole mission in this life is to advocate for others, which I did and do wholeheartedly. It wasn't until 2021 that I thought, oh no, like,
we
I
still
have
need to protect ourselves.
Which is real. And I think mothers can understand that. Like, we have a duty to protect our children and to educate our children and to advocate for our children. And that doesn't take away from our love of the other, unless the other is out to get us, in which case the mama bear really
Comes out.
holds the boundary. So I think about that, but they're not having that experience. But I hope that the next time I go sing in Poland that I'll bring them there. Because I don't want them to have a life of resentment. I don't want them to be afraid of this world. You know, my father is a Yom Kippur War veteran. My grandparents are Holocaust survivors. I lived with a profound fear of war. Profound. And it is a real thing for the Jewish lineage. And that's a reality that I need to be honest with my children about. And then I want them to know that the world can change. You know, I want them to know that when we land in Poland that like there are smiles and they greet us and like the way they did my hair and the makeup and the way they like offered me flowers at the end, like they really honored me and my parents and grandparents for having made it. And I want them to know that the only thing in life that is constant is change, and that it is possible for what's going on in the Middle East to change in their lifetime. Like our anthem is called Hatikva. It's like, it is the hope. That is our national anthem. That is who we are. And it's not hope with naivete.
Yeah.
It's hope because I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah, because we went through it.
Yeah.
And now they're celebrating you on a stage in Poland. It's pretty incredible.
And the other thing is that there were young singers who joined me, right? This like youth choir who have been singing in Yiddish for a decade.
Oh, wow.
And they're not doing it because I'm showing it on Instagram, and they're not doing it for like applause. Their parents sat in the audience and they were so proud of them.
Wow.
Gorgeous Yiddish music coming out of these beautiful Polish singers.
That gives me so much hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very difficult time to feel hopeful with everything
general.
going
With everything
on.
in the world. Oh my God.
Everything. But yet to see that through times, you said 80 years later, that things can change within a generation.
Yeah.
Speaking of change.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, tell me if it's off. I don't know if it's off limits, but you said that you were Orthodox.
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell me about that transition?
Yeah, totally. When I was a young actor, I would really make a big show of it because people love the story of like, I was Orthodox and then I ran away, and people love that story. And I would tell it all the time. Any drama. And also there's like this inherent feeling where we're all a little icked out. We're like, oh, first of all, conservatism in general for like our liberal sensibility is so like, ugh. And, we all have a little bit of internalized anti-Semitism of like yuck. And
You said it, not me.
I know. And it's real. It really is real. And so I would play this up. I would be like, I got out of there, and I'm cool. I'm the good Jew. The truth is, it just wasn't for me.
How did you know that? Because
it's hard to break out of the bubble.
Yeah. How did you even know that it wasn't for you?
I went to NYU. And I did.
So did I.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that Hulkin. That's a genius. That's
an NYU.
It's an NYU product.
Yeah, it's a genius product. So I kept Shabbat.
Okay.
All 4 years. I studied in Italy.
Yeah.
I studied Commedia dell'arte. It was amazing. I fasted on those summer days because there are fasts then.
Yeah.
I kept Shabbat. I kept kosher. I did it. I went to London the same. Yeah. And I studied theater. Yeah. And I was going to be Orthodox for the rest of my life. That was my plan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I met my husband.
Okay.
And he's this like Reform Jewish, like secular guy who is good. When I tell you the goodness in this guy.
Yeah.
And I realized, wow, it's like, you can be like have a high level spiritual experience without all these rules.
Did you at first not consider dating him?
Yeah.
So how did that even how did you even
I don't know. He was very persistent and
then did you tell him like, I can't be with you? Because give me the drama. But was there this moment
no, but I will say that I was
meet?
very traditional in that I was crazy. We got married when we were 26.
Okay.
And that's because I would throw things. I would be like, we have to get married.
And what did your parents
All of my
say?
friends were getting married and we were living in sin.
Yeah. Were your parents
all the
upset
time
about it?
That he's
not like that.
Yeah,
he was
my
secular?
dad, of course, totally.
Yeah.
It's hard to miss his goodness.
Yeah.
Profound sweetness of this man. So even though he doesn't follow all the rules, there's something very just like wow about him that you really can't ignore. And so I think they I was always the black sheep. Like, I wanted to be an actor. You
felt different.
They were like, well, thank God someone's going to take her. Like, someone's going to put up with her. So there was that.
So you did feel it before you met him, and he was then the catalyst to you realizing.
I guess so. I also really just wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Like, There, in Hollywood, it's not uncommon for Jewish actors to have changed their names to
Did you consider that?
Well, my name sounds Italian.
Oh.
It happens to be Iranian. Rabbanim was the last name originally, but it sounds Rabbanim means rabbis in Hebrew, and they chopped off the M to make it sound more Muslim.
Oh, wow.
Actually, one of the Afghani presidents was a Rabbani.
Really?
So it's not really. So they did the work for me. Daniella Rabbani is a great stage name.
Yeah.
Rolls off the
it
tongue. And people would tell me I look Italian, and I'd thank them. That also is internalized.
Yeah.
A little bit of self-hatred, but whatever. And so basically the fact that I didn't chop off my nose and change my name and everything about me was a revolutionary experience. But I wanted success.
Yeah.
I wanted stardom. I wanted whatever opportunity could come my way. And it's a hard business.
And did you feel like that didn't fit in the Orthodox lifestyle?
No.
So that was very clear.
Yeah, I really did choose art. And I do feel that that was, when I went to Poland, I had this feeling I do there's a part of me that really hates singing. I'm just oh God, this is so hard.
But it's beautiful.
Thank you. But it's beautiful, and it feels like my ancestors are singing through me. It really feels like a spiritual experience, and for me, that elevation of my spirit happens through art, and through storytelling more than keeping Shabbat ever could. And I think that individualism is present in everything I do. When I talk about motherhood, I'm it has to be what your soul calling is. It has to be tailored for you.
Isn't it so hard to sometimes listen to that because of the guilt? Even with motherhood or big identity shifts because you were born into it, and even though your soul is calling for something, it's sometimes, in my life, guilt is what holds me back from taking that leap. And I'm just curious, how did you have the courage to actually listen to your soul?
My soul's really loud. It's so loud.
You can't ignore it.
Yeah. I think that guilt sometimes is societal pressure, right? Is it? What do you think?
I think
societal
absolutely.
or
or society, family, it all. Yeah.
I'm not immune to it. You were asking earlier, how do you do it? I don't know that I'm doing it so well,
But you're doing it.
But I'm doing it. I'm not immune to that feeling. But I know that everything I've learned about acting, everything I've learned about motherhood, everything I've learned about Judaism, actually, your happiness means something. It means something to this world. And, you asked me a question just over email, about metrics of success. And I wish I cared more about money. I do care about money, but not enough not enough to motivate me, but
to dictate your decisions.
Yeah. But what lights you up, really, that's the gift you give a room. That's the gift you give your children. That's the gift you give the world. If you're a stay-at-home mother, when I was staying at home with my children, I was a monster. I was just so unhappy. And not because I didn't enjoy being with him. I really did, and I wanted to do a good job, but it wasn't my soul calling. And so they felt that. At some point I had to be honest, oh, you don't like this either.
And Mom, you're a monster.
Yeah. I was so particular about everything they ate and how little screen time. And those were my metrics of success.
And it wasn't your best version of yourself.
No.
It wasn't what I'm best at. It's actually not. I'm really present with my kids because I enjoy it and because I also feel guilt.
Yeah.
But mostly because I enjoy it and I know that the time is passing very quickly. But I know for a fact that they need me to go to Poland for 5 days. They need that for me.
Yeah. Because you need it for yourself, which then makes you fill up that room with joy probably when you come back.
Yeah. I think that is how I know how to listen to my soul calling. is because it's so obvious when I'm...
It's so loud, it sounds like. For you, it's very clear.
Is it not loud for you guys?
I mean, I feel like it'd be amazing.
I think we're very attuned to that, and in our journeys, we've had a few companies together. We've also had companies where we were very unhappy. And we're now in a position, we're just actually talking about it on our way here, where we're very fulfilled because we're happy doing what we do.
Joyful.
We're joyful, and that just makes all the difference. And how do you think our audience should think about that? How do you said light up the room. How do you identify that piece of you that will bring the best in you? And we're also, Lee and I are big believers in manifesting.
Okay.
We're always thinking you should feel how you want to feel, or you should feel like you already acquired that feeling in many ways. And like for you, how did you identify that, art was kind of filling that cup?
I felt like I was being used for good. And it didn't feel like a chore to me.
Yeah.
So I do believe that staying home with my children was me being used for good. Absolutely. But it felt hard. I was really swimming upstream.
Yes. Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's the hardest job.
And who wants to? Well, some people
some people love
some
it,
people love it.
Really?
Oh my God.
No, some people, it fills their cup. It gives them energy. It makes them motivated.
Yeah.
For me, it drains me.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know unless I tried. I mean, maybe some people know that already, right?
I know it on the weekend. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm at zero. Love you so much. Like, go enjoy school.
Yeah.
But I think that feeling when you feel like you're swimming upstream. For a long time, I was doing Jewish advocacy, and I felt exhausted and trampled on. And so I just
true, honestly. Like that's how you know if something's working for you.
Yeah,
is the friction, right? Like when you push, do you go that much farther, or is it just like push and you feel like you're not moving and you're exhausted and you're drained and you have the Sunday scaries?
Sometimes you're running so fast, though. I feel like you don't even have time to reflect and realize what you're dealing with.
Yeah, but I think you're like, but I just think there has to be joy in your day. I don't know.
I completely agree. Obviously, it's just about realizing that.
But if you're running so fast, and I wonder, so as you're running, if you're running uphill and it's hard, are you enjoying feeling strong? Like, do you enjoy that fight? Like I was saying, singing is really hard for me, for a lot of reasons. I have this hoarse voice, and I'm not a trained singer and whatever. I get up on stage and I feel like I'm a violin and someone else is playing me.
Yeah. Wow.
But so I know that about myself. So do you know that when you're running up the hill so fast, is it because once you get there, you're like, I know there's going to be a great rush? Yeah. Is it once you get there, you're like, I'm going to make a lot of money and then I'm going to take my kids on a great vacation where there's like a kids, like place for them to hang out all day and we're going to sit pretty and if you feel like you're running for a purpose, then feel your muscles work. Like enjoy it.
Yeah. I think you need to enjoy it.
And give yourself a second. It's like for the longest time when I was doing all that advocacy and I was like, well, it's for the people and and I'm doing good in this world. Okay. It wasn't easing up. That feeling of feeling absolutely burnt out wasn't easing up. So what I did was I decided, okay, I care about this story. There are clearly very, very confusing and hateful messages out there about Jewish people that like I know to be untrue. Why don't I make a film? Why don't I use my skills?
Where you shine,
joy,
where you feel happy.
Because I'll have way more love to pour into. So I created a film called Klezmer about my experience in Poland, about my experience as a young actor taking up the mantle.
That's amazing. I mean, you're basically saying the mission hasn't changed and the reason that gets you up in the morning hasn't changed, but the way that you approach it and that you drive it is different and more aligned to who you are and what makes you happy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I think when you were asking, I was thinking, like when you were saying, yeah, but are you enjoying the running, the nonstop? And I was just thinking to myself, I think the difference is when I'm on a path that really feeds my soul, I'm energized. Even if I'm running nonstop and I'm energized. But in the times where I'm like hustling and pushing, but I feel drained.
Yeah.
That's the wake up call for me. Like, no, this isn't your path. Whereas I can hustle all day long right now with Hulkin, and I'm energized. I'm joyful, right? Yeah. And I think it's being vibrant and energized, which is my key difference. It doesn't mean I'm not moving and pushing just as hard.
Yeah.
But it my soul feels vibrant.
Yeah. And I bet in all of those other companies, first of all, your relationship must have gotten much stronger. Like you've been through it all together.
Where I just realized we're wearing the same pants.
Yeah.
I didn't
You're like coordinated.
No, I'm like we're actually wearing. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Why are we wearing the exact same pants? This is ridiculous.
Because you're two sides of the same coin.
How did we just realize this? Okay, whatever.
But like there are many things that you learned in those less fulfilling experiences. It's not that they're not. They're not.
100%.
Don't stay in it to the detriment of your health or your finances or your family or anything, to the detriment of anything. Yeah. But like those experiences happen.
Yeah.
We don't have to look back at them. And this is something when my husband left his corporate job to start his firm, I remember telling him like, you don't have to make that experience bad to make the next thing good.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't for you anymore. That's it. Like just advocacy is not, it's just not my way. Yeah. I am an artist.
But it taught you something. It was valuable. It led you to the next step.
It.
All of those businesses absolutely had value. It doesn't mean staying home with your kids. Okay. Has value. It all
so much value.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you don't have to stick around long enough for it to hurt you. Because that's really when But okay, so you ran a little too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can pivot. And I think as women, we're pretty good at that because we do have a lot of interests. I think like our brains, I don't know if do you have boys or girls?
Girls.
Both
Girls. Okay. So like the little boy brain and the little girl brain, and I'm assuming the non-binary child also experiences just different circuitry. Yeah. And for women, we can hold many things in one being, right? We understand many truths. Yeah. We can multitask in different ways. We enjoy a lot of different things. We're good at a lot of different things. Look, you're hosting a podcast. You didn't have to do that. Like you created a whole product that was fantastic.
We keep on adding
because you're good at it. Because you're gorgeous. You're funny. You're like, why not? Like
why the hell not? Yeah.
Right. So I think like we have to accept that about our nature is that like we like a lot of things. We like it. We're good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we're almost at time. So I want to end this with you talking to our listeners, especially the ones who are thinking about taking that step into their next chapter. Yeah. I want you to give them a piece of advice, something that gives them the hope to take that leap.
First of all, I want to say congratulations on wanting to take that leap because you've probably learned a lot about yourself in this last chapter. I want to take a moment to consider what you learned. What were the things you liked about this experience? What were the things you didn't like about this experience? It doesn't have to take a long time. It probably just came to your head right now. It was very clear. I like crafting with my kids. I don't like cleaning up. Okay, great. Whatever that was, there are pros and there are cons. I think there's probably something in you that says, I want to do that thing, but I can't because. And if you just write it down, then you can at least question it. Okay? So what do you want to do? You want to be an actress. Okay? Lots of people want to be an actor in their 40s and 50s. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
You pick up a trade. Right? Like go get backstage.com, go see if there are some student films that you want to be a part of, pick up your iPhone, make it happen. There's a reason why you're not doing it. And maybe we can just at least acknowledge it. And it doesn't have to be true. Like that part of you, it doesn't have to be true that you can't do it right now. Like your age, what your finances, it doesn't you can do it. The other thing is things take time, like big dreams take time. So the success metrics need to be aligned with what makes you happy. If making money at acting is what you want to do right off the bat, you need to know that that's going to take a longer time. But if you feel alive while you're acting and maybe you're waiting tables or whatever else you're doing, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever that soul calling is, just let yourself know what the success looks like. Does it mean smiling at the table when you're, offering your kids dinner? Like feeling like you're finally listening to your soul's calling? Does it mean making money, working at Hulkin because they're a purpose-driven brand and they're amazing, and if you want to do that, what is success to you? Define it for yourself and let that change. And congratulations.
Oh.
Yeah, love that.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Daniella, thank you so much. It was so fun having you.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
excited to share
Thank
that
you.
with our audience, and on to the next thing.
Thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you.